And then I'm going to say, welcome to maximize your 2021 tax refunds with Bedrock Business Builders. I can't speak today. I hope you're going to have a lot of laughs because I think I'm funny, but I'm not really funny. Just so you can test it out with my jokes later on. My name is Elizabeth Frederick. We're here to have fun with finances. I know that everybody is coming into the room. Really, we want to find hidden deductions and tax credits to put more money in your pocket, because why not? Show me the money, Joe. That's always what I'm telling you to do. You got to show me the money. You got to tell me where it is. What are we going to do with it? I hope maybe not spend it. I like to save it. And then we're going to do quick introductions so we know who's in the room. Joe's going to give us a snazzy presentation. And then after that, we're going to answer some questions, but answer questions, I guess ask questions, right? Because we're going to play a game of Jeopardy, which is something we do on our Friday mastermind, and it's fun. I don't have the answers, you guys have the answers. And when we get to that, we'll explain the rules, because of course there's going to be prizes and things like that. Why not? We've got some specific sponsors like Baskets and Beads Kenya, which is a fair trade business and a nonprofit organization that is a client within Bedrock Business Builders. So why not give them a big shout out? They can never be in here in person, but that doesn't matter because we still love them. Now, if you want to give an introduction, say your name, who you are, what you do, something weird, strange, unusual. Like something strange and unusual for me is I did remote school with my daughters, right? And when we did it, we created all of these little hats. And I keep all of these little hats on my desk, on my lamp. And sometimes when I really feel like I miss my daughter, I'll put on the crown. All right. It happens. That's a weird thing about me. I'm just letting you know. Who wants to do a quick introduction? Yay, Susan. Hook it up. Who are you? What do you do? Something strange.
I'm Susan Shepard. I have a little company called Getting What You Want. I basically help people who've had serial bad relationships with the same person in different bodies to become who they need to be to attract who they really want. And that's the work that I do, in addition to some other business consulting that I also do about organization charts and, you know, that kind of stuff, business stuff, real business stuff, not love business stuff. And something unusual and weird you want to know about me is I'm remodeling my bathroom and putting a wooden deck in the shower.
Deck in the shower. That sounds sweet. Can you put a sauna in the shower or a sauna in your bathroom too?
I don't think so.
You should try it. The Y
No, it's
does.
open. There's no shower door or anything. It's all just open. And there's a door to the outside.
All right. You're definitely getting what you want, Susan. That's what that sounds like to me. So, Louis C., you have your hand raised. Are you ready to do a brief introduction? Is that why your hand's raised?
Yes, I am.
Marvelous. Who are you? What do you do? Something strange.
Well, good morning, everyone. My name is Louis C. Well, right now I am trying to learn how to do this tax code stuff. I used to work for a chemical company, but I'm no longer with them, and trying to kind of venture out and see what else I could do. And so right now I'm trying to learn about taxes and how I could be of service.
Wow.
And something weird. I mean, I'd like to share my face, but this computer that I'm on doesn't have a camera, and I'm using my phone as my speaker.
That's pretty weird.
I like it. Innovative, ingenuity, and something strange is that you like the tax code and you're a little into it. You know, not everybody likes the tax code, so kudos to you.
Including me.
Joe, you say you don't like it, but those numbers, they must give you some type of thrill. So Shannon, you're here. Do you want to give us an introduction? Who are you? What do you do? Something strange?
It's something strange that's stumping me, which is really strange, actually, because usually I'm one of the, funnier ones or do weird things in my group of friends. But my name is Shannon Spencer. I am a business transformation coach, and I work with Christian female entrepreneurs who have founded a business, and they want to enjoy the business that they have and make an impact with it, but they also want to have fun. So I help them holistically across the board. And so came to listen to today's conversation so I can help them understand more about what's coming up with taxes and why they really need to look into their tax professionals.
That's wonderful. I like that you're here to help teach other people as you learn. You're going to make it so the message ripples.
Ooh, I love
Fabulous. Yeah, yeah. So, Scott, who are you? What do you do? Something strange.
Let me introduce myself. Scott Factor. I've been in the wholesale jewelry business for 35 years. So for you women out there, I'm the
We
man.
love jewelry.
And so that I've been doing a long time, and I've been associated with Joe DeChara for 40 years, something like that, right, Joe? 42 years. And
A painful 40 years, both
could
of
you
us.
imagine? I told you I'd get you back. And so something weird is that in the middle of my day, I'm on a Zoom call talking about taxes. So I hope to learn something, and you know, just another year going by as we enter the fourth quarter, so to speak.
So I have something weird about Scotty. I have a lot of stuff that's weird about Scotty, but and the statute of limitations is run, Scott, so don't worry about that.
All right, all right.
So Scott was actually my first tax audit client. And I probably got him audited because I wasn't a CPA and he was a sole proprietor. But it was also our first victory. It was victorious, right, Scott?
It was. I actually left with them owing me money.
Yes. And that was the way it was going to be for the next 40 years. So I just wanted to share that with people.
Isn't that unbelievable? Over 40 years. But I'll never forget during that audit, you know, Joe kept me organized, believe it or not. At that time, I kept, because I was an independent contractor, and I kept receipts, and I did weekly expense reports. So when I walked in there, I had 52 envelopes, and I was about as organized as you can get. And we showed that to the auditor, and Joe started yelling at the auditor to go get the boss. I don't know, Joe, if you remember that, but you yelled at the auditor, "I want to speak to your boss right now." And then the boss came out, didn't say anything except, "We owe you money." And that was the end of the audit. But it was being organized that really, I don't think a lot of people walk in with 52 envelopes. They got a freaking pile of receipts and whatever. So I think that helped. And it was a good move on my part bringing Joe with me. That was the right thing to do.
Thank you, Scotty.
You're welcome.
I forgive the last 40 years of pain and suffering you put me through now.
Okay, I owed you a little payback. There it is.
That's a beautiful story, a wonderful friendship. 40 years of heavenly bliss is what I heard in that conversation.
Did
All
you?
right. As Joe likes to say, I like to sugarcoat everything. All right. It helps the medicine go down. We're going to be as sweet as we can be because we're going to kill them with kindness.
Something's got to be right to keep each other in our lives over 40 years. So
there you go. It's a silver lining and everything. Now, we also have Sarah G in the room. Sarah, would you like to give a brief introduction, who you are, what you do, something strange? 1, 2, 3. If you want to unmute, you're more than welcome to. You don't have to. I know I'm putting everybody on the spot. By all means, you can just ignore me. And okay, if I say anything wrong, if I mispronounce things, it's just how I am. I'm sorry. We've got Jethia. I heard a little baby. Please help me.
Yep, Jethia.
Nice. I like that name.
It's beautiful.
Hi, good afternoon, everyone. I am a sole practitioner of administrative and record keeping. That's what I do for a few people that I partner with. And this is my second year in business, so still learning some things.
Oh, welcome, welcome.
Welcome. Yeah, that's awesome. I'm glad you got your child in the background. I, for a long time, had my kids in the background. In fact, Joe calls them poltergeists. All right. So don't have any fear about that when you're unmuting yourself. We welcome children. All of us within Bedrock have children in some way, shape, or form, grandchildren, aunts, uncles, niece. I don't know. All right. We also have iPhone 3 in the room. I don't know who that
Hi.
is. Hi.
Hi.
We're doing brief introductions. You want a name, who you are, what you do, and something strange.
Okay. Hi, Hannah Schindler. Hi, Elizabeth. Hi,
Hi.
Joe.
Hi,
I may have to pop off. I have another call. But anyway, Hannah Schindler with Tool Factory Outlet. Is that good?
That's perfect. There's something strange about you, Hannah, that maybe we don't know.
Something strange.
Yeah, something strange. I'm trying to get you off guard.
Something strange. Well, I should be in Florida, but I actually don't want to go down to Florida. I don't know why. I don't want to go to Florida. They're all pushing me to Florida.
that's
I'm a
not
little
strange.
strange. I'm a little strange.
All right.
I don't want to go to Florida either.
Okay. Yeah.
You can stay where you are. Stay put, Hannah. Don't worry. We love you here. Okay. I know where you are. We've got Luz in the room. Luz is part of Bedrock Business Builders. But Luz, do you want to give a brief introduction of who you are? You know, I got it. There we go. She's going to say.
Yes, hello everyone. I cannot open my video. I'm Luz. I'm accountant of Bedrock Business Builders. I'm helping Joe with accounting works with our clients. That's all.
Luz is going to be the person who emails you and chit chats with you. She's keeping everything in order. She's truly the taskmaster of Bedrock Business Builders. Don't let her brief introduction fool you at all. The woman is amazing. Okay.
So I want to know, what are you doing in this workshop, Luz? You're supposed to be working. You're on the clock right now.
See, that's the weird thing.
Yeah, that's a strange thing. We're here to also have fun. She's here to learn. She needs to hear your words of wisdom, Joe, because come on, everybody needs to. And
Yeah,
we're going to get
Luz
some.
and Marianne's on the clock too. I don't get this.
Don't make them feel guilty, Joe.
Yeah,
They're
Joe.
learning from you.
Okay.
All right, Marianne, who are you? What do you do? Something strange. You're part of Bedrock too.
She said she's fixing her mic.
All right. Awesome. Still fixing her mic. That leads us into Joe, because Joe is the only one who hasn't given us an introduction. And we've introduced now all the different team members of Bedrock Business Builders. Marianne, she is training within Bedrock. She actually has a whole army of accountants that are learning behind her at the ready. She's actually an incredibly impressive young woman, because lots of the employees within Bedrock are women, which is a little strange. I'm going to call that out on Joe right now, that he surrounds himself with all these women who are working within Bedrock Business Builders. But Joe, do you have a wonderful introduction and ready to go for your workshop?
I'm going to leave my introduction for later on in the presentation. So just so everybody knows that I'm not dissing Luz and Marianne. I actually put in the chat box an hour ago that they must attend the workshop. So they're here because I asked them to be here. Thank you, ladies. They worked too hard. Marianne just started. This is her second day. So welcome, Marianne. And I have to say, I love these small workshops because everybody's going to get a chance to not only pick my brain, but pick Susan's brain, pick Elizabeth's brain, because they are brilliant. And we don't have employees, Elizabeth, we have team members, and there's a big difference. We all work together. I'm blessed to have such a, what do you call it, Susan? A harem?
Harem.
A harem.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that, we've been looking for guys, but
Joe's harem.
They just don't. I haven't found one that fits the bill that could do the kind of work that we need. Actually, we do have Larry Broughton who is one of my mentors, my coach. And so, yeah, women, I've learned to listen to women. Okay, let's just keep it at that. And so welcome to maximize your 2021 tax refund. And let me just preface that with, if you're getting a big tax refund, you're actually doing something wrong. Okay, because what you're doing wrong is you're giving the government a
The
tax,
use of your money.
an interest-free loan. So with my clients, and Scott knows this, he's been a client since before I was a CPA back in 1926. What we try to do is break even. Okay, if my clients owe, a little bit of money at the end of the year, they know it 3 or 4 months in advance. So it's all planned out. When Scott talked about the organization, that's one of the keys. Okay, if you're not organized, not just with your taxes, but with all of your finances, it amazes me how little people know about their credit, about what's on their pay stub, about taxes. So that's why we started doing these workshops like over a year ago, because number one, most accountants don't teach their clients anything. And I never understood that. Every client I've always had, I tried to teach them. Most of them, and most of them men, didn't want to learn anything. The truth is, about 3 years ago, I did a deep dive into my business with the help of a friend, and I had to identify my ideal client. And it was actually my smallest client. She always listened to me. She knew how to use a computer. That's important. Okay, because we do use technology, we leverage technology. She paid her bill, and I said, you know what? I want 1,000 clients like Linda. Now, Linda is, just by coincidence on our team. She builds software. She's built amazing software to help us run our business. So, our doors are open to everybody. I don't just look for women to do this kind of work, but it's just, maybe it's not a coincidence that those are the people that apply to these positions, that gravitate to us. Because, one thing Larry taught, he's taught me a lot, but he introduced us to what he calls core values. And if you don't have our core values, what's the first core value, Elizabeth?
Fun.
Fun.
Seriously. Fun,
fun.
faith, family. They all begin with F.
So yeah, I believe life is too short. And if we're not having fun at what we're doing, then you should be doing something else. And for a long time, accounting wasn't fun for me. Okay, I resented my father for tricking me into becoming a CPA. I just wanted to be an entrepreneur. And no matter how many times I tried to get out of accounting, and Scott knows, because one time, a long time ago, I tried to enter the jewelry business. I don't know if you remember that, Scott, but that was one of my entrepreneurial endeavors. But I always got sucked back into accounting. And it wasn't until about 3 years ago that I realized I was born to do this. There cannot be any better thing that I could be doing. Not only, and it's not, I could be doing a lot of other things to make money. Okay, I'm blessed. I have different talents. I also, I'm aware of the things that I don't do well, which are numerous, more than I'd like to mention. But the few things that I do well, I do very well. Okay, and so getting back to maximizing your tax refund. Yeah, when we get new clients, I'm usually able to not only, you can't maximize your refund unless you're minimizing your tax bill. So it's not always about how much money you get, it's how much money you're keeping. making use of that money. And I believe that as we go through this workshop, you'll definitely get some really good tips, uh, and and I'll learn too. I always learn something. My goal every day is to try to learn something new. And I appreciate Scott knows he's a client. He could call me anytime and get this information. Hannah's been part of our mastermind for a long time, so she can just chime in. So I really appreciate all of yous jumping in here. So let's get right into it. Who this is for, who this is not for. Fortunately, this is for everyone that's here. Okay. Hopefully you're here because you want to learn something new, maybe enhance your knowledge about taxes and finances, maybe get some out of the box ideas, which I always love to throw in there. And the people it's not for, they're not here, so I don't even have to spend time on that. I've already mentioned some of the things you're going to leave with. You're definitely going to leave with some new ideas, a, a good approach on your filing your 2021 taxes. Lewis, if you're looking to enter into the tax business, you're in the right place. We're always looking. There's a lot of ways to tap into our knowledge, and it's not just me. I got one of the best ideas about how to run my accounting business from my mother before she even knew anything about account. I was teaching her how to do bookkeeping. And I don't want to go into the details, but what I learned was she asked me a question about how I was doing something. And I was like, I had to think about it. I was like, you're right. Just because we've been doing it this way all these years doesn't mean that it was right, when we started, but technology changes, things change. And she enlightened me about, and ever since then, I'm like, I'll ask my daughter, I'll ask some guy that I don't even know, what do you think about this? Now it might sound crazy, but you don't know where you're going to get an idea from. So I love learning. I always have an open ear. Even, people like Scott, my clients, and I don't mean that in a bad way, Scott. I mean, I listen to my clients because I don't know what it's like to be a tax accounting client. I don't know what it's like to have to ask your accountant something. So I ask them, if they've already had an accountant, how did that accountant handle them? What did they do right? What did they do wrong? Okay. So hopefully you're going to leave here with something that's going to make your life and your finances a little bit better. Okay. Because like I said, I'm going to try to teach you, I'm going to guide you and put these aren't like things that you'll be able to do later on. These are things that you're going to be able to implement right now. Okay, the short term, like right now, literally right now, today, after you're finished with this workshop, you might be able to change some things that'll put money in your pocket, and also some long-term strategies. Another reason why you should stay here is till the end. First of all, we're going to play an amazing game that Elizabeth runs called Jeopardy. Elizabeth, do you want to let them know a little bit about Jeopardy?
Well, Jeopardy is like Jeopardy, except it's not Jeopardy because we're in a Bedrock workshop, and it's Jeopardy. You have the answers. I don't have the answers. The board is set up where the numbers don't matter, but the categories really do. There's jokes on there. There's things that we learn during the workshop because it helps us remember and retain what we're doing. And then there's some sneak peek things in there. I have a lot of fun with it. I hope you will have a lot of fun with it. Hannah's been and played Jeopardy. Hannah, do you like Jeopardy? Is it a good thing?
You're muted.
Love it.
There we go. So not too much on it, Joe. I want to know about some weird tax deductions and things
Okay,
like that.
well,
Let's get this party
also,
started, Joe.
so if you have, if you feel like you gotta go, if you have something to do, that's okay. But the last but not least, I'm gonna give you the secret weapon that the IRS does not want anybody to know about, because it works 100% of the time if you ever have some kind of tax issue. Okay. Imagine not having any stress about the IRS. I think after Scott walked out of that audit saying, oh my God, they owe me money. That's probably has something to do with why he stayed with me for so long.
Absolutely.
Imagine getting extra money in your pocket that the evil IRS empire is holding on to right now. And think about some of the people that filed returns last year that are still waiting for the 2020 returns. I actually have people that'll probably get this year's refund before they get last year's refund, which has nothing to do with me or with them. It has to do with the post office, with the IRS. And I've had Congress people involved. My aunt, who worked at the IRS for 20 years, just got her refund a couple of weeks ago after being on the phone for months with her. The IRS was even giving her congressman the runaround. And the last straw was, when the guy said, okay, we're ready to push the button, and the button didn't get pushed. It turned out the guy was out with COVID. So I'm like, you got this huge monstrosity of an administration, and because one guy is out sick, the whole system stops. And like I said, you can get peace of mind working with us. So you're probably asking yourself, how are we going to put cash in your pocket now? You'll find out very shortly. And so a lot of you don't know me. Usually we have workshops where a lot of people know me. There's a bunch of new people here. I appreciate you showing up. But why? Just because I'm saying it, a couple of people are saying it here. What qualifies me to teach you and share with you some of these things? Some things about me is I love to help people. I believe in service any way you can. I love teaching, if I haven't said that already. And most of all, I love helping people keep their money. It breaks my heart when I see people throw money away needlessly because they just didn't have the right information. So also my experience is this: over 40 years, starting with people like Scott, I have literally worked with thousands of people and organizations. And it always comes down to they need to create what they call books and records. Most people don't know what that means. But when Scotty walked into that IRS office with 52 envelopes, that was his proof. That substantiated his deductions. And nothing has changed since then. Every time I get a client, no matter how big or small, we start with the basic bookkeeping. Because if you don't have that bookkeeping foundation, you can't get a financial report. So that's what I've been doing for a long time. And once we get their books in order, we want to keep them in compliance. What that means is, you want to dot all the I's, cross all the T's, and it's more important than ever now. The IRS is trying to literally get into everybody's bank account. They want to know what you're doing with your transactions. It's unbelievable. And eventually that's going to happen because just based on history, once they ask for something that they're told no, they just keep going back and asking. Bottom line is you got to be transparent. So I have a lot of experience actually going to war with the IRS. And other big companies, insurance company, anybody that is making my clients' business difficult. Okay, so it didn't just end with Scott. That was just the beginning. I have handled hundreds of tax audits. I have never lost. Okay, that's sort of like a loaded question. It's like prosecutors don't take on cases that they know they're going to lose. But if I've gone up against the IRS, there's a good chance that I'm going to win. And another thing that I'm going to enlighten people about today is the fact, this might be shocking, but the IRS does not make the laws. They don't even enforce the laws. Okay. They don't, unless you're getting in trouble because of you have the criminal division of the IRS. Those are people you want to be afraid. The people with the gun and the badge from the IRS. I've had, one time I had a client that was under criminal investigation. He came to me after he was, under investigation, and they hired me to clean up their books. But I could tell you stories. We don't have enough time, but you could listen, you could sign up for the mastermind, connect with me, and I could tell you some stories where everything that the IRS says in their instructions, in their publications, goes against what actually happens in an audit. And I'll just leave you with this. If the IRS was always right, we wouldn't have a tax court. And we have a tax court, and the IRS loses a lot of times, a lot. Okay. So just keep that in mind. If you're afraid of the IRS, there's really nothing to be afraid of. Like I said, my goal today is to show you legal ways to reduce your tax. There's a lot of illegal ways, and actually there's a lot of criminal tax preparers out there. Believe it or not, most of the tax fraud is perpetrated by accounting firms. And the IRS has their finger on it now. I have to jump through hoops just to file a return electronically. They've instituted, and they should have done this a long time. I'm supposed to have my license up on my website, my prices. It's about being transparent today. Also, I can bore you with all kinds of, section 179 deductions, section 162. Nobody cares about those numbers. I just say that because it makes Elizabeth laugh. She's an attorney, and she loves that stuff. She'll go and research it. So that's something strange about Elizabeth if she didn't share it.
I like the fine print, Joe, all those section numbers. And I like the court cases too. Like last mastermind, when you were talking about those strange tax deduction, you actually specified the cases, the court cases. Now, those are the funniest things ever. That's really what would, I don't know. It's enlightening. And also I see people, they're in the chat. Joe, what I told them is that I've got some prizes to give away, but they're going to answer some questions in the chat. Okay. So if you do that, I can't say if it's the most hours that you've spent, like you're the one who did the most or the least, but as we go through, I'm going to give you some prizes. They're going to be in the chat. So don't you worry about it. Okay. I just wanted to interject that as we continue to go. Come on, Joe. I need to learn something today, not just.
Okay, so also, if anybody's, I'm going to go quickly because there's a lot of stuff to cover. So if I'm going too quickly, you could ask me to slow down. We don't have that. That's what's great about having a small group. If you want to stop me, if you have a question about what I'm talking about, feel free. Just raise your hand, or you could put a question in the chat and Elizabeth will interrupt me. But really, the crux of the problem is that it is too complicated, and it's getting more complicated, and it's complicated by design. Okay. For a number of reasons we don't have enough time to get into right now, but it's not a simple system, especially if you're going into business. Okay. So let me ask you, how many times have you been frustrated with the IRS? How hard is it for you to get ahead? Okay, it's not easy for anybody. And if you can ask yourself, isn't it time that you got some simple, affordable, accurate, actionable advice, direction? And that's what we're here for. Steve Forbes recently said we're in what he calls a regulatory state. It's not just the IRS, unfortunately, it's the state and local governments also are in the mix now. So let's see, where am I? Like I said, there's way too much to cover. So we're gonna quickly go through this. I've already said I'm gonna share my insider secrets, stuff that the government, the IRS, Congress doesn't want people to know, because some of the stuff I'll tell you, if everybody acted on it, it would probably collapse the Social Security system. If you don't have a business, and this is really a lot of what I do today, I'm advising people even that aren't in retirement, people that just have a W-2 job. I'm like, you got to start a business. It used to be that, people like my mom who has an Etsy store, it's a hobby. The IRS would say, you can't have a hobby and deduct the expenses. Well, now they're forcing people that have hobbies into claiming those hobbies as a business. And I'll give you an example. It used to be if you had an online store, Etsy, I don't know any of forget all the other ones, but if you're selling something online, the rule was that you had to have 250 transactions and over 20,000 in revenue. They just lowered it to one transaction. And if you do over $600 in sales, that's $50 a month. You're going to get a 1099, which means you got to file a Schedule C as a sole proprietor. So they have, just with that one little rule change, and that's all it is. It's not a law, it's a rule change. They are going to make millions of people file as businesses that never had to file before. Also, they decided that they're going to hire 85,000. They're not employees. They are, make no mistake about it, they are collection agents. They're either literally in the collection department or they're going to be auditing people. I don't think the IRS has 80,000 employees now. So they're going to more than double over the next 5 years. So it is going to be, it's basically forced us to change our focus. Before it was about helping people make more money, and that's always the objective. But now, I'd say 75% of what I do is really to keep people out of trouble, so that they don't have to, so that they don't get audited. And if they do, like Scott, come out of it where they don't owe any money. Now, if you think I'm exempt, you're wrong. I got to follow all the same rules. I went for years without taking a salary just because of the financial structure of my business. And when I say that, I wasn't taking a W-2 salary. So I have 2 corporations, and the way things are now, if I don't take a salary, even if it's, 500 a month, if I don't have a number on my tax return that shows that I took a salary, I am subject for audit. And I don't want to get audited just like anybody else. Audits are going to be the norm. Very few people get audited, but the way they're doing it now, it's easy for the IRS to audit people. They used to be labor intensive. Like when Scott was audited, we had to make an appointment. We had to go in. Okay, we took up the IRS agent's time. He had to look at stuff. He had to file a report. Everything is machine driven now. You don't even meet the auditor. They ask you, believe it or not, to just fax in your documents. And then they make decisions based on the documents. That is not, I had an audit last year. The woman came to me. She had a failed business. She took over her husband's trucking business. She lost $30,000 the last year. The way her accountant did her return, she was like definitely going to get audited. She had all the records. Long story short, when she came to me, the IRS said she owed them $250,000. 50,000 of which was for filing a fraudulent return, which she had no idea. Her accountant did that. By the time I got done with them, she owed them nothing, and they sent her an apology letter. Okay, because what the IRS auditor did was illegal. And I challenged them. I said, if you're not going to change this and make it all go away, we're going to go to tax court. And I want to see what the judge says to you and how you and the rest of these are going to look. It turned out that the original auditor no longer worked there. I think he had some kind of issue, or he got fired. And that happens. You know, every industry has bad apples, but this guy went way, way beyond his authority. He said basically, not basically, literally, he said that none of her expenses had to do with the trucking business. Insurance, fuel, 250,000 in wages. So this is what business owners are going to be up against now. But we have solutions. Okay, we definitely have solutions. And before I get into the solutions, I'm going to start talking about some of these out of the box tax write-offs. Now, this wasn't part of our mastermind last week, but you know that somebody asked me a question a little bit. And he actually owns a martial arts studio, and I told him I would have to think about it. So he wanted to know if he could deduct his own martial arts training and his weight training. And I got back to him like 15 minutes after the meeting. I said, you can absolutely take it, because who's going to want to learn martial arts from somebody that doesn't know martial arts? And who's going to want to learn martial arts from a guy that's all out of shape? So I would definitely take that as a write-off. I would, if he got audited, I would handle it for free. I actually have a professional baseball player as a client, and I told him to open up his own gym because he needs tax write-offs. Believe it or not, you know, these athletes make a lot of money. They're all W-2s. They got no tax write-offs. So I said, listen, if he trains, you know, 12 months out of the year, I said, open up a gym. Now all of that training, it's not an expense, it's a tax write-off. So I don't know if he's doing it yet, but I'll be talking to him soon. Our biggest solution is what we call the Bedrock CFO package. Now, this came from years of trial and error, believe it or not, working with my mom remotely and coming up with a package that anybody that's in business can afford. One of the things that I learned was that people don't hire accountants. Millions of business owners wind up doing their own taxes, and it's never a good idea. Those are the people that get audited. Okay, so we came up with the Bedrock CFO package, which covers all of their bookkeeping, all of their tax compliance, unlimited access to me, membership in our mastermind group where you can come every week, and it starts at only $57 a month. Okay, it's less than what people spend at Starbucks in one trip. I'm not talking about a month. You can go to Starbucks and spend more than that in one visit. I've done it. So here's another, Scotty will like this, breast augmentation. Now, these are actually cases that the IRS disallowed these deductions, and they went all the way to tax court. So this was a stripper that, let's just say she got very, very large assets. and she wanted to write it off as a medical expense, and the IRS didn't like it. It went all the way. So the way audits work is you have the first level. That's like the minor leagues, I call it. If you don't like what they say, you go to an appeal. If you don't like what they say, you go to another appeal. All the way till you get to, so that audit that I handled for the 250,000, they were at the last appeal. Now, after that last appeal, you only have a certain amount of time to file a petition with the tax court. Well, one thing I learned about the IRS is they don't like when people file a petition to go to the tax court, because now they're going to be taking up a judge's time. They're going to be taking, and they have to justify taking something to court. So one of my strategies, just like with that woman that got bullied, is, okay, we'll go to tax court. I must have filed 20 petitions to go to tax court. And you know what happens? You get a last chance to settle. I've never had a client that actually had to go to tax court. Every time, and I've had some big cases. I had a case once where it had to do with the basis of something that our client sold. And I got the IRS to agree to $900,000 worth of basis with no receipts, nothing, not even a canceled check. So she went to tax court. The tax court said, no, because she's in this business, you know, her breasts are an asset. And they actually said it's a depreciable asset. So that was an interesting one. Okay, so let's go to something more serious. Let's go, and I'm gonna have to unshare this. We tried this before and it worked. So this is about your tax account. Okay, so everybody has their own IRS account. You have to register. So everybody, if you have a social security number, you have an account with the IRS. So I've been advising clients to go online, register for your own tax account. It's very easy. And I'll qualify that. Anything with anything now isn't always easy because there's a lot of fraud. So you got to prove who you are. But these are some of the things that you can do on here. Now, I don't recommend anybody go to the IRS for advice, but it's a good source of information. Okay. So over here, you can view your balance. In other words, if you have money due or coming to you, you can check it. You could create a payment plan. Okay, so if you owe under $10,000, you can do a payment plan in minutes. You can make payments online. Okay. This is what I tell people to do. Access your tax records. You want to go back as far back as you can to see what the IRS has as a record for you. Now, I'll give you an example. You might think you filed your return, but guess what? Even if you went to a tax professional, just because and this happened to me, I submitted returns, but they got stuck. They were never filed. So you should go online, make sure all of your returns are filed. It takes the IRS years to catch up with that. You'll get a notice saying, oh, you didn't file your 2016 tax return. I have clients that didn't file, they got their stimulus. They got their stimulus checks and they're like, how could this be? I got my stimulus. Well, guess what? The IRS is all screwed up. Okay. You could have, if you had an old accountant and he got a power of attorney, you don't want them to have a power of attorney anymore. So you could see who has authority to your information. Anybody I have a power of attorney for, I'm getting their tax notices. So you want to make sure that you have a clean record as far as where you are with the IRS. That also has to do with the state. Okay, every state and local government has some kind of online access. Okay, next. Where- Okay, gig work. This is huge. The IRS actually has a whole section on gig work. If you don't know what gig work is, it's some people could call it a side hustle. If you're doing DoorDash, now I see Amazon has all these people that they're using their own cars and delivering packages. Anything where you're making a little bit of money. Okay, so like even my mom with her Etsy store, that's considered gig work. Okay, I don't know if that actually became a word, but it's a word in the IRS. So why is it taxable and why is it important now? I mentioned this before. All of a sudden, people that are doing a little bit of business are going to get a tax document. And a lot of them, millions of them, unfortunately, won't even know what to do with that. Okay, it's just like it's a 1099. And Scott and I had an issue with this because he had a part-time worker and we have to give her a 1099 and she didn't like that. But if you're hiring, and this is the other side of the coin. So, I have affiliates and I paid them more than $600. They're going to get a 1099. That was always the case. Okay, if you had an independent contractor and you paid them more than $600, you had to give them a 1099. But let me tell you, even if you're under $600, okay, just because you don't get a tax form doesn't mean that you shouldn't be claiming that income. And I'll tell you why it's even more important that you do. If you make money in a business, you also have tax deductions. And this is where people miss the boat. Okay, just because you're making a couple of thousand, those guys, Uber drivers, I feel so bad for them. Why? Because they don't realize, a lot of them, they get a 1099 at the end of the year. They don't realize they can write off their car. They're in a business, okay, just like anybody else. And a lot of times the deductions are more than the income. So it actually comes out to be a loss. Okay, so that's the story on gig work. Does anybody have any questions before I go further? Okay,
Joe,
yes.
what, so like when you're doing the home office, those are all deductions too, right? Like, so every family should really be a business, shouldn't they? Because then it makes it so they're getting tax deductions for like their internet access, their phone usage. What about like their cell phones?
Absolutely. Absolutely. So you got to come up with a business percentage if you want to do it, 100% accurately.
Mhm.
But, technically, my mother's cell phone, part of that is for business. She uses it all the time. I call her, mom, why didn't my package arrive? I already paid you for it. I'm going to, I told her I'm going to file a complaint with her.
And isn't there, besides deductions, there's credits too? So what about like if I buy or upgrade my computer or the technology and things like that? Is there like a credit for that or something?
There's not a credit, and I'll explain the difference between a credit and a deduction, but you definitely would get a tax deduction for it. Okay. And again, it's based on the business use percentage. But let's say you have, I have 5 different computers in my office. Some of them were obsolete. One of them, I broke the monitor. But I gotta, so you could have two computers, one you just use for your business. That's not out of the realm. I mean, that's logical. If you're doing DoorDash, maybe your spouse has a car, you only use DoorDash for your business, so that now your car becomes 100% deductible. Also, and this is why I tell people, if you want to get deductions, you got to have a business. The IRS, well, Trump did this, he raised the standard deduction. So a lot of people that used to be able to itemize don't itemize anymore. I have very few clients that actually itemize. You got to have a big mortgage, and that's it. If you don't have a big, because you can't even write off employee business expenses anymore. You're limited. So the only deductions, and you don't even have to make money. If you're just trying to make money, it's a business by definition. So now I could tell you, if you're a sole proprietor, the IRS does not like sole proprietors losing money every year. Well, they don't care about corporations losing money every year. So we just take our sole proprietors and make them corporations. So, I think that's another slide. But let me cover, because some of these are big, and it's going to screw up a lot of people. Last year, they came up with this advanced child care credit. And people like my son and daughter-in-law, they got $250 a month in advance for 6 months. They got, what is that, $1,500. That's half of the credit. They're going to get the other half when we file. So, people were like, well, how are we going to know how much we got? The IRS sent out a letter. Brilliant. The letter is going to tell you how much you're going to tell your accountant, how much you got, and it's all done. It's not done. Well, lo and behold, the IRS is sending out letters that are wrong. Any kind of mistake that could be made, they're making it. I'm talking about a divorced couple where the husband got all the payments because she didn't log on and do it correctly. So the IRS sent it all to him. And then she gets a letter saying that she got half of it. And I mean, people that are getting the wrong amounts. So you put the wrong amount down, or your numbers don't match up with the IRS, your refund is going to be delayed, guaranteed. So my advice for those people, and it's not happy advice, but it's advice that's going to get them the refund. You got to put down whatever the IRS says that they gave you. And if it's wrong, you're going to have to amend your return later.
Yeah, they just sent out a letter stating how much they sent you. Actually, the IRS should be sending that to people. It's a specific form.
No, people have gotten it already. It should have gone out. My son got his, but I'm in all these groups with accountants, and they're all saying, oh my God, what do I do in this case? What do I do? Well, I know about how the system works. And if your numbers don't match what's on the system, your return is going to be pulled out. And that's what happened to my aunt. Okay. We had to file an amended return. She forgot to give me a 1099. We filed the amended return like in February last year. We didn't do anything wrong. And the thing is, all of her information is already at the IRS. It's all things that are reported by a third party, interest, her social security. So I'm sitting here saying, why is this difficult? It's not like somebody has to pull it out and say, oh, you had a business, we got to verify. It's all machine driven. So unfortunately, so the IRS is telling you ways that you can reconcile it. So now I'm afraid, knowing how the IRS works, even if you go in there, if you have a problem and you want to try to rectify it before you file your return, what I would say is file for an extension. Okay, file for an extension. Get it right, make sure it's right, and you can make sure it's right just by going into your account and doing that. Now, it's the same thing with the stimulus payments. Okay, some people got them, some people didn't. A lot of people didn't get them because if they didn't file their 2019 or 2020 return, they might have been held up. And I say might have been because I know people that still got their, listen, it's the government. If something can go wrong, it will go wrong. And believe it or not, they're affected by COVID just like any other business. So, between the child tax credit and the economic stimulus payments, you should go online and verify it because you can. Now, I'll give you another tip that isn't in the workshop, but if you ever have to call the IRS, there's a strategy to that. My aunt taught me. She used to be one of the people that took the phone calls. So you don't want to call on a Monday or a Friday. Forget about it. What you want to do is you want to call on a Wednesday or a Thursday, and you want to call 15 to 30 minutes before they open. And this goes with the state and local governments too. Probably any other business, I would think too. And the reason is, and she called it was the K, QUE. I think that's how you spell it. And you want to get online as early as possible. You wait till 10 a.m., that key is already filled. That key is already filled. I've been on the phone, and I get a special hotline for tax preparers. I've been on the phone for hours. Then I get through the menu, and then they say, oh, we can't take your call back again another time. So I call early in the morning now. Now, another change, and a lot of people will miss this. You used to have to itemize to take charitable deductions. Now anybody could take up to $300 as a deduction. So even if you're not itemizing, you can get up to $300 as a deduction. Also, I highly recommend doing direct deposit. Scott, and Scott, I'm sorry to pick on you here, but yeah, it's true. Scott's daughter last year, we didn't do direct deposit. We opted for a paper check, and she never got it. So we're tracking it down. The IRS is saying it's delivered, and the post office is saying it was returned. The address doesn't exist. He's been living in the same house for, I don't know, 20 years. So it's not just the IRS, it's the post office too. So the post office is screwed up. The IRS is screwed up. If you could file electronically with everything, file it electronically and get confirmation. If you send it by mail, there's no guarantee the post office is going to deliver it, and there's no guarantee that the IRS is going to open it. They have football fields filled with unopened mail. And the thing is, so this is why you need a professional. When I get a case like this, if you sent the response in to the IRS because they said you owe them money and you don't, and you send a letter, don't expect them to open the letter. And then if enough time goes by, they're going to get to the point where they're just going to take it from your bank account. So what I do with clients is I get a power of attorney and I go right to the source. I get somebody on the phone, I fax them the power of attorney, and whatever the issue is, we either resolve it or get an extension. Okay. Withholding and tax payment issues. So I'm going to share my screen again here because I got this question yesterday And it is an issue with W-4. So if you have a job and they want you to fill out this ridiculous W-4 form, you know how easy it is to get confused? Look at this. They got all these worksheets. So this poor guy is like, and he's a truck driver. He's like, I'm trying to fill out this W-4 form and I don't know what. So this is what I tell him. You fill out the top, name, address, social security number, and whatever your filing status is. Okay. Then you go down here and you sign it. You claim single 0 or married 0, and that's it. None of this other stuff makes any sense. They don't, even if you knew how to fill it out correctly, the chances are they're not going to withhold the right amount. What I do with my clients is halfway through the year, if they have a job, I look at their withholding, I double the amount, and I tell them this is what your return is going to look like. So if you or anybody you know is trying to fill out a W-4 form, forget about all this stuff. You just say single 0. That's it. Or single 1. I mean, if you have children, single 2, whatever. But that's the withholding. Now the other, so there's 2 ways to actually pay your taxes. One is through your withholding, and the other is through estimated payments. Now this is another mystery to people, and this is how I explain it. Number one, the government wants money. They want it now. They don't want to wait for it. Okay, and if it's not being withheld, when the money is being withheld, whoever is withholding it is giving it to the government. Okay, if you, and we have a bunch of people that don't have withholding. I have one guy, he just trades stocks. He makes $150,000, $200,000 every year. So he's got to pay estimates. Okay, they don't want you to pay it at the end of the year. Okay, like I said, they want the money now. So you're supposed to be paying quarterly. If you owe more than $500, if you don't pay quarterly, you pay all the money with your return, you get hit with a late payment penalty. Now, if you know that, that's fine. If you're doing your own taxes, you got to try to figure out how much you owe and pay it quarterly. Okay. Most people still don't pay it quarterly. They would rather pay the penalty. The penalty is not that much, believe it or not. I don't know why that is. To me, it's not enough of an incentive to pay it quarterly, but I'm just telling you, our clients that do owe money, they know they owe money. They know money way before they have to pay it. Okay. And that's really the secret, that, you want to know if you're getting money back or if you're going to have to owe money. And you don't want to do it in February and March. You can't do tax planning in February and March. Okay. Now to another funny pet deduction. I've been doing this for years. I had a client, actually was a client that was under criminal investigation. He was a dog guy. He had a warehouse in a bad neighborhood. So he rescued this big dog, and they had vet bills, they had to buy dog food. And I told him, that's a tax deduction. And he thought I was kidding. I was like, no, I'm not kidding, because the dog is guarding your warehouse. Okay, he wasn't a house dog. He was literally in the business. So they wrote, and these guys were under criminal investigation. Everything that they took was being looked at, and all of those went through. Now the tax cases, and I know I share this because of Elizabeth. Let me see the tax case. Oh, this was the cat lady. Okay, so the cat lady had, and it was the same thing. She had a junkyard. She used to put food out for stray cats. because they would keep the rats and the snakes out of the junkyard. This actually went to tax court. You know, sometimes I think, are you kidding? How much could cat food be worth, and how much did it cost you to go to tax court? Well, the tax court allowed it as a business deduction. There's also cases with pets where that they paid for the pet to take an airplane because they needed it for business. You know, some of these seem wacky, but these are all cases that actually passed tax court. Tax credits for individuals. Okay, okay, so there's a bunch of tax credits. I'm going to go through these pretty quickly, but I already talked about the child. So there's 2 credits when you have children. People confuse them. There's a child tax credit. Okay, that's just a straight, you have a child, you're going to get a $3,000 credit. Let me explain the difference between a credit and a deduction now, if you don't know. A tax credit goes dollar for dollar against your tax liability. Now, there's also refundable credits and non-refundable. So a refundable credit is a credit that you get even if you have 0 tax liability. Okay. A non-refundable only reduces your tax liability if you have to pay taxes. Okay. The child and dependent care credit. So you could get a child care credit and up to $500 dependent care credit. So like my mom is my sister's dependent. She'll get a $500 dependent credit. Okay, does that make sense? If anybody's got a question, let me know. Now there's also the child care credit. So like my granddaughter goes to nursery school. Those are child care credits. You get up to $600 based on how much you paid. And a lot of these credits and deductions are phased out if you're making a lot of money. Okay. And they're all different phase outs, they're all different rules, but usually, you know, if you're a married couple making over like 200,000 a year, if you're single making more than 80,000, the phase outs usually start coming in. You know, the stimulus credit, if you didn't get your stimulus credits, you can claim it on your tax return. There's the earned income credit. Now, this is one of those areas that there was a lot of fraud perpetrated by shady accounting firms. They used to like sell children, because if somebody had 6 children and they didn't, you know, you couldn't get more of an earned income credit, they would let somebody else take it. So there's a lot of questions. So me as a tax preparer, I have to like jump through hoops to get an earned income credit for people. Now, you don't have to have children to get an earned income credit. If you're over, I think 62 or 59, I forget what the age is, and your income is under, I think, like $10,000, but you have to have earned income. So this is for people that actually like have a part-time job at McDonald's because they can't survive. They get Social Security. They might actually be able to get the earned income credit. Okay, there's an adoption credit. Then there's also, and I love this one, there's a savers credit. So if you put money in an IRA or a 401k or anything like that, you can get a credit for saving money. Now, what's great is if you have a corporation, you could actually hire your spouse, your kids, anybody, and set up a 401k or some pension plan for a business, save money, and also get a tax credit for that. So that's a good one. There's a couple of other weird credits. There's also some credits for homeowners. If you put in solar panels, an energy efficient boiler, you can get a credit. Also, if you buy an electric vehicle, you can get a credit. There's education credits, okay? The American Opportunity Credit and the Lifetime Learning Credit. So that's if you're taking college credits, you can possibly get a credit. Now, deductions, what that does is that reduces your income. It doesn't directly have anything to do with your tax liability. So a tax credit is better than a tax deduction. Okay. So that's that. Another weird, and this one was sort of like obvious to me, but you get somebody, I need a jet for my business. You know, I have clients in Florida, California. So this guy bought a jet and wrote it off as a business deduction. I would think, of course, it's a business deduction. Well, the IRS doesn't like that, and they disallowed it. It went to tax court, and the guy won, got 100% of his jet as a tax write-off. Unfortunately, I think he went bankrupt because he really couldn't afford the jet, but it was a tax write-off. Another guy, Scotty would love this, gave away beer. And so if you buy somebody, you know, you take somebody out to dinner, you buy them alcohol, so you get 50%. You get a 50% deduction for meals and entertainment. This guy actually gave away beer as a promotional item. So you get 100% for promotional items. Believe it or not, the IRS disallowed it. It went to tax court, and they said it's absolutely a business deduction. So I'm bringing this stuff up. People, you know, they are sort of funny, but I butt heads with a lot of accountants and people that think they know about taxes, about some of the deductions that I tell people they can take. And, you know, if somebody could deduct beer and their pet and breast augmentation, and it went through tax court, you know, I don't think some of the things I tell people to do are that wacky. So now I like to mention the Taxpayer Bill of Rights, because I actually brought this up in that tax case. Because one thing, when they're auditing you, they're supposed to tell you that you have the right not to remain silent. That's if you got arrested, but you have a right to representation. The last couple of audits that I handled, and these were all audits that were already in the appeals process, the auditor did not tell them. They didn't even mention, do you have an accountant? To me, that's morally wrong. Okay, what they did to that poor woman with the 250,000, they ruined her life for a year and a half. She didn't know what was going to happen. That auditor should have went to jail. He should have been called to task. Okay, so you have a right to be represented. You have a right to be informed. Okay, you have a right to quality service. If you had an accountant that was a criminal, or he was incompetent, you get hit with penalties, you can get those penalties removed. I've gotten millions of penalties and interest abated because of a bad accountant. And believe it or not, a couple of times I used myself as I made a mistake. I had a client that it was one of those returns. The return got stuck between my computer service provider and the IRS. I didn't know it. She got hit with late filing penalties. And I came clean. I said, listen, I'm a CPA. She relied on me, and she got back over $22,000 of penalties that she paid. She paid the penalties because they sent her a bill. So it took me about 2 years, but we got it back. So that's another point. If you if you think you owe money, do not pay it until somebody that knows about it tells you to pay it. If she showed me those penalty notices, I would say, we are not paying that. I'm going to fight them until I go through all the appeals process. But I knew that there was no way she owed that money. You have a right to challenge the IRS's position. Like I said, they do not make the laws. They don't even enforce them. You have a right to appeal, a right to finality. I had a case once with some of these auditors are weird. He just wanted to keep coming back. And we gave him everything that we had until finally and this was a long time ago. This was like over 20 years ago. I told my client, he wasn't my client. I was working for a firm at that time. I said, get a tax attorney because this guy just isn't. And I didn't know about this. But the attorney just wrote him a letter and said, finish the audit. So they finished it and then they went to appeals. The guy actually wound up getting convicted of a tax charge because he didn't tell me he was getting kickbacks from the paint. He managed a building and he was getting kickbacks from the electricians, the painters, all the contractors, and depositing the money in his personal bank account. So I didn't know about this. He didn't tell me. The IRS knew something was up, and it was, and he got caught. But you have a right to tell them enough is enough. You have a right to privacy. This is important. Everything that we do now, I had to tell my clients there's no more emailing stuff. They are holding accountants to a high standard because we have people's dates of birth, their social security numbers, all kinds of financial documents. Okay, you have a right to confidentiality. You have a right to representation, like I said. And this is where I get them all. You have the right to a fair and just tax system. When all else fails, when you look at the facts, you just got to say, and that's what I did with that $900,000 guy with the no receipts. He bought all of his stuff at garage sales, literally. He happened to have an eye for antiques. So he knew when something was worth something. He paid with cash. He didn't have any receipts. So I told him, listen, either he stole this stuff or somebody gave it to him. If they gave it to him, he still has a basis. And they were like, you're right. That makes sense. Okay. So that's the taxpayer's Bill of Rights. Hopefully you never have to enforce them.
Keep putting links in the chat for everybody. If as Joe is going through this, like the child care tax credit and the taxpayer bill of rights and all the credits and the deductions, I gave you the links of those things. Now, I want you to keep in mind that I like the fine print, just as Joe said before. But when you're a client of Bedrock, you don't necessarily have to know all that stuff, because when you're a CFO client, we reconcile your accounts monthly and we see all those expenses, and it makes it so we can better tax plan. But Joe, you're going to tell me how I can write off my swimming pool, like my little swimming pool in the front that Susan saw me fall into with a very fancy dress on? Or are you going to tell me how I can write off going to the YMCA and a big pool, because it's something that if I had employees, everybody would have access to?
Yeah,
Can you explain this?
sure, I'd be glad to. I hope you didn't try to go into the deep end on that poll.
I was in the deep end. Don't you worry about it. Susan has records. I think she might have even taken a photo.
Okay, so the swimming pool. Yeah, I love, because Elizabeth brings this up all the time. If you have a business, if you're an employee, if you have other employees, because you can't discriminate, you could actually write off your club membership dues. Okay, as long as you're offering, and you don't have to, not everybody has to take it, as long as you're offering it to everybody, you can write off your own gym membership fees. Now, normally that's a personal expense. Okay, but what this is what they call a non-taxable fringe benefit. It's one of those things that you can only do when you're a business. Okay. So now this case with the swimming pool, the guy actually had a note from his doctor saying that that the pool swimming was therapeutic. Again, to me, if I'm the IRS, uh, I'm not going to tax court on this, but they wanted to make a point and they lost. That's what kills me, when they want to make a point and they lose, they just did the opposite. They just let the whole world know that they can write off their swimming pool. I would even go as far as saying, listen, I got people in the swimming pool industry. We have, David, right? Elizabeth, I don't know if you know him, but
Yes,
anyway,
I do, Joe.
he's got a business where he sells and he builds swimming pools. Well, I would think that he needs a sample, and his backyard is a great place for that. So yeah, that would be aggressive, but there's been cases like this one where people actually got to write off their swimming pool. And I'm gonna give you at the end of this, and don't let me forget the ironclad way to get any kind of business deduction through, hopefully without being audited, especially, and I'm going to tell you the secret to the home office deduction. There's a way to do it without telling the IRS that you're doing it, and it's all legal. So the next thing is I want to just touch on this Taxpayer First Act, because I think it's kind of, it didn't work. The Taxpayer First Act was, I think it was passed in 2019, and it was about realigning the IRS to make taxpayers first. They were going to make it a better experience. They were going to train their IRS employees better. They were going to have a better organizational structure, give you more resources, more things like the online tax help. And some of these things they did do. Okay, the fact that you can go online and check your own records is big. It used to be you had to request your transcripts, and they would send it to you by mail. They actually have a system now where people that can't afford to go to somebody to do their taxes, where you can go to the IRS and the IRS will actually help you do your taxes. They have a number of software providers that will do it for free. I'm pretty sure H&R Block is one of them, but you got to be careful, because just because they're doing your federal for free, so like what H&R Block does, they'll help you with your federal return, but then you got to pay for the state return, which is just as much as if you just went to them and had the whole return done. But the thing about, the part about making, streamlining instead of hiring 85,000 collection agents, they should have spent the money on fixing their system. Their system is broken. It's been broken for a long time. And I don't hear them saying they're going to spend $1 billion on upgrading their software. They're not doing it. And I'm just bringing this up not to be a downer, but to tell you the truth. This is what we're doing now. Tax credits for businesses. So there's not that many tax credits for business. The biggest one that I could tell you is that when you open up a pension plan for your employees, you actually can get a tax credit. Okay. I'll be honest with you, I haven't done a lot of research on this, but on the state level, and this is what I wanted to bring up, just because the IRS doesn't have a lot of credits for businesses They do have credits. Like if you have a restaurant, you'll get a credit for what you're paying on payroll taxes. They do have some like one-time credits now. If you have employees, that will be credits against your payroll taxes. I have one client that's going to qualify for a credit because she had an employee that actually had to go out on sick leave because he had COVID. So the tax credits for businesses right now are limited, but at the state and local level, there's credits available. And what you have to do is, what I do, just Google it, say tax credits for businesses for New York State, because there's more credits at the state and local level than there are at the federal level. For instance, New York State has some kind of special credit now if you're going to open up a daycare center. Okay. Now, this is also an interesting credit because if you're an employer, I actually have a client that was asking me about this, and it was if it wasn't just him, it would have been okay. But an employer can actually open up a daycare center for their employees and get 100% tax write-off. Okay, so that's another out of the box, and that's another one of those non-taxable fringe benefits. So if you have employees, it costs a lot of money to have an employee. And finding these non-taxable fringe benefits is huge. For instance, for every $100 you spend on an employee, it's going to cost you minimum 18% in payroll taxes. And then, depending on your industry, you're going to have to pay for workers' comp and disability insurance. Okay, so it's not cheap to have employees, and you want to take advantage of everything you can. Now, this is funny because this was not a business deduction. I'll tell you why it was funny. This woman hired a babysitter so that she could do charity work. So she took her baby, and this is like, so I don't think I would have even done this, but she took her babysitting fees as a charitable deduction because she had to have a babysitter to do her charity work. Well, the IRS didn't like that, but the tax court did. And the tax court let her write as a charitable deduction. So now, why is this funny? Because I have a client now, we have a client that he asked me, he's like, we got to hire a babysitter, and he's looking at that dependent care credit, the $600 credit. And he wants to know, can he open up a daycare center? I think he was at my last workshop. He's like, can I open up a daycare center and write it off? And I said, well, if you had other employees, I would say yes, because that would be a benefit he's given to everybody. But it was just him and his wife. So I asked him a couple of questions. I'm like, well, him and his wife work from home. They can't work unless somebody's watching the baby. So I said, forget about it. He was going to give her as a household employee. I was like, no, we're going to write her off as a business deduction. Okay, it's 100% legitimate. I would go, like I said, I would gladly represent him for free. Now you got to remember, when you're taking deductions as a business on a corporation, the IRS is not looking at that closely. Now, I'm not saying that it's, you should break the law and take stuff that you're not entitled to, but stuff like the home office. I'll give you an example. When Scott was a sole proprietor, we took his home as a deduction. That might have been one of the reasons why he got audited, actually. When you do that, there's a special form for home office deduction. They want everything. They want to know the square footage. They want to know how you came up with it. I'm surprised they're not asking you for the floor plans. Okay, but when you fill out that form, it's a red flag. You're telling the IRS, hey, I'm taking a personal expense and I'm writing it off as a business expense. Well, those returns are one of the, even if it's 100% legitimate, those are the returns that get flagged. One of the ways the IRS audits people is they have a point system. Okay, and that is a lot of points. So when you're a corporation, what you do is you reimburse yourself. You reimburse yourself for expenses. It's almost like it comes under the law of reimbursed employee business expenses. Okay, it's the same thing. So what you do is all you got to do is document it. I have a spreadsheet. I say how much of your home, and everybody works from home now. So what it shows up on the return as if it's rent, it shows up as rent on your corporate return. If you're paying taxes, utilities, interest, it goes on those. Now those are normal deductions. Okay.
So Joe, we had a question in the chat. What if it's a
Yeah.
daycare for their dogs in the office? Is it like, so say
That's stretching. I would say book a chat with me. You know, another thing is, and it even says it in the IRS publication, you know, there's a publication 562 is, you know, keeping books and records. Okay, and they give you this whole system on how to keep your books and records. And then at the end in the fine print, they say, the IRS cannot tell you how to keep your books and records. It's based on facts and circumstances of your individual case. Okay, that's what it comes down to. So anything, and I'll give you my secret right now that I was holding till the end. Section 162, Elizabeth, you can look this up. Section 162 says that a business deduction, all it has to do to be deductible is ordinary and necessary. Okay. So I would say if that person could justify that bringing the dog to doggy daycare is somehow tied to their business, then it's a business write-off. The IRS might not like it, but number one, if you're a corporation, it will be embedded in all your other expenses. So it's not a red flag. Okay. And like I said, every deduction is based on the facts and circumstances. I know this accountant, she's way out of the box. She does workshops on this about section 162, and she actually had written off jewelry worth $15,000 as a business deduction. So Scotty, if he wants to buy a $15,000 necklace from me, I would write it off as a business deduction because he's giving it to his accountant. It's not a gift. Because I'm not doing his taxes unless I get some bling.
So
Okay.
I'm glad that you're getting some bling, but we've got another
We're coming
question.
up on the end here. So
All
body
right, all
oil.
right, all right.
Okay, I'll go quickly. We got to play a quick. I didn't realize we went through way too much stuff here. Body oil. This was obvious to me, but it wasn't obvious to the IRS. This was a weightlifter. He was in professional competitions. The IRS disallowed it. The court said he's a professional weightlifter. He needs the body oil when he's doing his competitions. Okay. So like I said, our CFO program, that covers everything. Scott knows if he's ever got a question, unless it's the middle of tax season, I'm in a bad mood, he can call me. Okay. That's one thing. We're also keeping track of your books and records on a regular basis. That's what team members like Luz and Marianne do. They're invaluable. And all of this we start at for $57 a month. None of our clients pay anything close to what they pay if they were going to a traditional CPA firm. Like I said, it's almost like you get your own accounting department. Okay. Main benefits, if you like the protection, protect you and your family, we're always looking for ways to minimize your taxes and audit exposure. We don't want anybody getting audited, but if any of my clients followed my advice and got audited, I would handle the audit for free. Okay, so we could skip this. We could skip this. This is our team right now. We're still growing. Marianne's not on here. But yeah, that's my harem. Thank you, ladies. I'm blessed. Okay, are we still doing this, Elizabeth? Somebody signs up now. We're doing 3 months free.
Sure, why not?
Yeah, 3 months of CFO pay. That's worth what, 150, 171 bucks. No, Susan, you're already a client. You can't get that. Okay, we got this. I've already covered this. And I've already covered my my secret bonus. We do have an S Corp book. If you're a sole proprietor and you want to know why you should become an S Corp, Elizabeth will send you a free copy, right, Elizabeth?
Oh, yeah, but to get the free copy, I think at this point you got to book time with Joe. I got to see your name in his calendar because the book is really good. And if you book time with Joe and ask him lots of unique questions, that just, it warms my little heart because it keeps him busy. All right. The goal is to keep Joe busy, especially during tax season.
Yes.
The other thing that I will tell you is that we included other gifts in the chat already, right? We included your budgeting. It was a blank template. What you do is you link on it, you copy it. It helps you keep track of your budgets and all those like expenses. There's tabs on the bottom. It's a cool Google spreadsheet. Joe spent lots of time creating it. The other thing that we shared in the chat was we talked about how the IRS just loses track of things and people and prospects and potential leads. They just lose track of stuff. Now, every business owner can lose track of potential leads. So we also included a spreadsheet that will help you keep track of your potential leads, right? And monitor your 10 points of touch. All right, because you don't make a sale with anybody you don't know, like, and trust. And that's one of the things that we're doing around here. We're trying to make it so you know us, so you trust us, and so you build a good relationship with us, because we are talking about your money and you don't want to talk about money with anybody you don't trust, right? So, Susan, I will send you a book. Wonderful. The other thing that I will say is that I also gave you access to my tax law outline that gave you some of the cases that Joe talked about. Now that's an 88-minute read. You really get into down to the details. If you like anything in the chat, you can go to the ... You can save the chat. It'll be there. The other thing I can tell you is that we do save a recording and it'll be available on Bedrock University. That'll all come in your emails, so don't worry about that. But beyond these things, we do have a very quick game of Jeopardy. I don't know if we're going to be able to do it in time. We've never gone over time and not finished the board. So let's see if we can do it in rapid fire. If you have specific questions for Joe, I would say that you book a chat with him. Or if you answer a Jeopardy question the right way, or as I said before, you have the right answers, I don't, then we can open up the room and we can do a quick chat. Does that make sense? I hope so. I hope I'm keeping track of everything. Also, I will tell you that we look for affiliates of Bedrock Business Builders. And if you want to send us a friend or somebody that you want to work with or want us to work with, we do have that. It's a standard affiliate program. You can read about that at a later time. We didn't really go into it, but this is where we have got tax, employees, random, not too funny, and money. Susan or Joe, whoever can unmute first. Where are we going?
Money.
100, 200, or 300?
Oh, 300.
All right. What investment brought you the most return?
Real estate. I bought ownership in an apartment building in Texas.
All right. Was it taxed?
I
Nope,
don't know.
no, no, it was real estate is a great investment because you could actually have losses because of depreciation. And then when you sell it, you get capital gains rates.
Oh, that sounds like sweetness. Joe, where are we going on the board? We got to be quick.
Not too funny for 100.
Oh, I'm going to warn you, I'm not too funny. All right, everybody. So, what is the difference between accountants and lawyers? No, bada bum. Accountants know they're not funny. Attorneys try to be funny. All right, that's the difference. That's the answer. I told you it wasn't too funny, but I'm trying real hard. So now where are we going on the board, Joe?
Let's do employees for 100.
See, Susan, I'm cracking myself up. Come on, aren't you having fun?
Oh, yeah.
What is a benefit you could offer your employees to avoid tax? All right.
A retirement plan.
All right. Some specific ones.
A pool.
All right.
Use of my jacuzzi.
All right. Now, I'm going to say one that's very particular, where it's not only where you as a business owner are avoiding the taxes, but your employees are also avoiding it being taxed income. And it's actually investing in an HSA, which is a health savings account. Because if you as a business invest in a health savings account, it makes it so your employee can spend money on Q-tips and Pepsid and things that are over the counter that insurance companies don't necessarily cover. But if it's bought through an HSA, they do include those things as medical expenses, and you can make it so it's not taxable income. All right.
That's a good one. We should do something for our clients on that.
Yeah, it is a good one. You see, it's all the ideas that percolate with Jeopardy and in these masterminds. We play this pretty much every week on Friday during lunch hour, 11:30 to 1. So where are we going on the board now?
Random 200.
What do you want for your business? This is open to anybody. You can unmute, start shouting things out. It's not just the Susan, Joe, and Liz show. All right, everybody's here. That the points don't matter, but if you wanted to keep track of points, somebody might get a bigger prize.
More clients, more money.
More clients, more money. That's an awesome one, Shannon. Where do you have a burning business question? Or Shannon, you keep asking about your daughter. Am I correct? In the dorm room? Okay, so her burning business question was in the chat, and I kept trying to interrupt Joe, and it just wasn't working. But she has she has a daughter that is a gig worker. She is like doing art work. Is that correct?
Mhm.
And then she wants to know, can she write off her dorm room expense as a home office?
Part of it.
Part of it, right? That's a
Well, first of all,
unique one.
you got a desk, you got a computer. But yeah, I would, why not?
I didn't know how it works with rentals until you said that in rent. And then I was like, well, we're renting her dorm room. So, and she's doing her arts, which now she's gonna get a 1099 from somewhere because she's made a couple $1,000s on it.
Yeah. And I'm
Mhm.
telling you, the IRS would not like it, but I don't care if the IRS likes it.
Okay.
Technicalities, all right. So where are we going on the board, Shannon?
Go to random. 300.
300. All right. Go big or stay home around here.
High
All right.
roller.
What is your favorite way to advertise?
Man,
Social
everybody's
media and
quiet. today.
Yep, mine is speaking.
Speaking. All right. So is it tax deductible when you go out to these speaking events and you book the hotel and you get a whole bunch of people and you have some lunch, things like that?
I think so, yes.
So there's advertising and there's marketing.
Ooh.
So I think, advertising is something that you pay for. That's how I look at it.
Are both of them tax
Well-
deductible, Joe?
If you're paying for something, yeah, and I get this question all the time. People want to write off the time that they spend donating their time. You can't write off your time. They want to put a value on, and I understand the logic, but you got to spend the money.
Time is priceless.
Yes, and it's not deductible.
There we go, Joe. Unless, what if you were to like get people to, you gave receipts for your time?
You'd go to jail.
All right. See, Joe's always trying to make it so I'm not doing anything illegal. All right. I'm always trying to think, but he's keeping me out of jail. Thank you, Joe. Hannah, your hand is raised. Do you have a question?
Yeah, you can deduct charitable contribute, if you make charitable donations, right?
So- Yeah, and
sorry.
it doesn't have to be cash. You could donate a car. You can donate. I had a client once that donated all kinds of books that were worth like $15,000. And it goes by the fair market value. So some of these books she had for decades. So yeah, that's one of the, when people are moving, I'm like, donate all the stuff that you were going to throw out.
But is that still just the $300 maximum?
No, $300 is if you're not itemizing.
Oh,
If you
But
don't
if
have
you
any
have-
receipts.
If you have $15,000 worth of legitimate, so when you take a non-charitable, a non-cash deduction, you got to have receipts. You got to have all kinds of documentation. And I would even go as far as attaching it to the tax return.
okay.
Because, if it gets bumped out and they see the receipts, you're less likely to get audited.
Where am I going on the board?
One more
Oh.
question. What
All right.
about, I'm sorry. What
Yeah.
about if you have a coach, every week I go to, Lisa Gold every week. Is that a deduction? Can you do that?
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Thank you.
Where are we going on the board, Hannah? You gotta unmute though.
You're muted, Hannah.
Sorry.
It's okay.
You have to learn how to
Employee,
read lips.
I'm sorry. Employees,
200 or 300?
200.
Okay. What do you need to file when you work with independent contractors?
1099.
Yeah, 1099. All right, Joe, where are we going on the board?
Tax for 100.
What is something that is not taxed?
Gifts under $25.
All right. And then the other thing that I was going to go into was how food at supermarkets, if it's not pre-prepared food, is something that is not taxed.
Oh, that's sales tax.
Yeah, that's sales
Correct.
tax. Yeah. So I'm just trying to think outside of the box. This is where you guys have the right answers. I don't, but I got some obscure answers too. So let's go to not too funny for 200. What do you call an accountant without a spreadsheet?
Lost.
Oh, Susan, you got it. Dun, 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 bada boom.
Are you serious?
That's serious. She's come to one too many
You
masterminds.
really aren't funny.
Come on, I think I'm funny.
That one is funny.
Cracking myself up over here. Let's go to money for 200. Have you ever opened a new bank account to get the sign up bonus? What do you have to do? Does anybody else get these? This is okay. So I often get in the mail. It's like from Chase bank account. From Chase is a really good example, and they will say open a new bank account and get $250 from us, or open a new bank account and get $500 from
Oh
us.
yeah, I got that from Citibank.
All right,
Guess
so
what? I had to pay taxes on that.
it is income.
sent-
Yeah.
They sent me a 1090. I was like, oh, if I knew I was paying taxes, I wouldn't have taken it.
It is considered income, so let's mark that off. But then what do you have to do for it? A lot of times you have to have a direct deposit that goes within the account, and in a certain amount, usually it's over $500 within so many days of opening the account. The other thing that you can do is leave a minimum balance in there. Like sometimes it's $5,000 or sometimes it's $1,500. But this is where all you got to do is flip over the back of that card and read it, and somebody could be giving you $250 to $500 just for opening a bank account and depositing some money. That's how the rich get rich. All right, because they move money around just for fun. Where are we going? Joe, tell me, employees.
Taxes for 300.
All right, good, because we have a minute left. I can't not finish a board. Can you be an employee, an independent contractor, and a business owner?
Yes.
Victory is yours, Susan. Where are we going on the board?
Tax for 300.
Tell me something weird about taxes. Anybody? Nobody?
They never go away.
All right, they never they never go away.
They're not guaranteed.
Not guaranteed.
Yeah, well, they used to say the only things guaranteed are death and taxes. And I say, not if we're your accountant.
That's true. Anything is negotiable, even the IRS.
Right, right.
Yep.
What is an HSA?
You just talked about this.
Yeah,
I
that-
know, you got to retain what I'm telling you, okay?
Health
Health-
savings account.
Yes, Shannon, what is it?
Health savings account.
Woot woot, see, people are listening, they're
I
paying
love it in
attention.
January when mine gets reloaded.
Because it rolls over, doesn't it? If you don't
Oh, no.
spend, no,
You
so
lose it if you don't spend it.
now some of them will roll over. So
Oh,
this
and
is where, do you have which HSA do you have it with a specific insurance company, right?
yeah, something through my husband's employer. And we can't actually take aspirin and over the counter things with the one that we have now, which is really frustrating.
Okay, so any insurance policy, anything like an HSA, they are all different. One of the things that I can tell you real quick is that people can contract to anything. All right, and that includes in your insurance and with the HSAs. So when you're opening these accounts like an HSA, or when you're looking for insurance, you want to make sure that you're reading the fine print, especially since now there are more plans out there that are outside of the Affordable Care Act. Okay, because there are insurance plans that are outside of the Affordable Care Act, they have now changed the stipulations. One of the things about the Affordable Care Act with those insurances or those policies was that they were uniform. Okay, but now because they've opened them up to other policies, that's not necessarily the case. And buyer beware, always. All right.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Little PSA right there. Money. What credit card gives you cash back or fly miles, or what is their incentive? I want to hear some credit cards.
JetBlue. I get my points.
American
Okay.
Express.
What do you get from them, Susan?
I get points and I buy things with points. I bought lots of stuff with my points from American Express
Okay.
and travel too.
Shannon, you mentioned one. What was it?
Alaska Airlines.
Alaska Airlines. PayPal credit card will give you cash back.
Oh,
Or not even their credit card if you have money in your PayPal account. But I think Joe will attest, because we've had clients that have had issues with PayPal, that leaving a substantial amount of money in your PayPal account is not the best idea, because PayPal can pretty much do whatever they want, like take the money.
Mhm.
All
Mhm.
right. So be careful about that, but they do have a credit card or just an account card that will give you cash back if you make those purchases. One of them, Joe, you have a Chase card that does it with Amazon. All of a sudden, if you're buying things through Amazon, you get money back.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. Random. If you lost money in stocks but didn't take out your investment, can you claim the loss?
No,
You're right, Joe.
you have to
Yay.
sell it.
Uh-huh. You have to sell it to actually take the loss. We're gonna have it.
And then watch it go up after you sell it.
We are not giving stock advice around here. We're just asking if it's income or not, and if you can deduct it. Why did the guy stare at his orange juice for hours? All right, I know that I am not too funny because I don't even remember the punchline. And it's gone. Do you know why? It was because on the box it said concentrate.
Oh.
Wah, wah, wah. All right.
Not
It's like,
great.
not too funny. All right. And then the last thing down here is we do this each week. We say, what do you challenge yourself to do by next week? Report on it. And you could potentially win a prize if you come to the mastermind and show us that you did it. Any challenges? Like one of them could be, I challenge myself to book a call with Joe and ask him some questions.
Hey, you
All right.
stole my Elizabeth. That was going to be my follow-up question. Hey.
Hey, Sarah. Thank you for putting on your video. It's wonderful to have you in the room. And that's your challenge. You're challenging yourself to book time with Joe.
That's it. Yep.
All
yep.
right. That's how you're going to get his book too. So look for it in your mail.
Thanks, you guys. I appreciate you putting on this webinar today. And yeah, sorry I missed the first part because I was the first Zoom of the day went extra long, but I'm glad I got most of the content. I appreciate everything you guys put out there.
Thanks for coming, Sarah.
Good to see you guys.
Lewis is also challenging himself to book time with Joe. Awesome. I'm glad you're here, Lewis. I saw you taking some notes. I really appreciate that, actually. People who can take some notes. Big note taker. Anybody else? Because
Thank
I'm
you,
gonna.
Can you deduct medical? It's a certain amount of money you can for medical expenses, right? What is it? How much is that?
No, it's not limited. I mean, but you got to be able to itemize.
Oh,
And then it's got to be more than 7.5% of your income.
oh, okay.
So I'm going to challenge myself to give Janine more work this week.
All right. Well, Janine is in the room. Janine is actually the person who helped Joe make the slides. She does a lot of our social media posts. She makes all of us into superheroes. If you like how awesome the emails are designed and all the pictures, the website, things like that, Janine does that within Bedrock. I am so glad that everybody joined us. If you have any other future questions, things like that, I don't want to keep you past the time. I know we said we were only going to go to 3 o'clock. It is now 3:07. Any other last remarks, words, things to say?
I had a lot of fun. Thank you, everyone.
Woot woot. I had fun too. So it's a pleasure. And thank you, everybody. Have a wonderful Tuesday. I hope to see you in the future. Remember to download the chat at the ... We did make a recording. You will get the recording. It'll come in an email. All of that stuff is the follow up and follow through. And that is why we have Team Bedrock. It's not just Joe. It is all of us here. And it's to make it so everything runs smoothly. So have a wonderful evening and see you later.
So long, everyone. Thank you.